when you develop that kind of a craftsmanship of your expression, your responses, your behaviors, your relationships with people, your perception and in a response to events, people meaning what? You relate with people only to some interaction, right? You're not just sitting with a person like sitting in a transport bus without talking. Relating with people meaning there will be dialogues, there will be questions, there will be answers, there will be responses back to that. If you have whether is there an invariant perception of relationship defined in the mind so that it is consistently manifested across variations of interceptions of emotions and feelings? One dialogue is mistaken, suddenly there is a conflict and explosion. Okay. Now that's an internal process. What about the invariant perception internally? What about the doing internally? Who is the doer internally? You see, what is the process internally? The outcome is manifested. For example, what is the doing in case of a so-called slight mental illness? What is the situation in terms of a minor interpersonal conflict? Might mean minor conflict between husband, wife, or father, daughter, father, son, mother, daughter, neighborhood, diplomatic relationships, international relationship, client relationship, boss, colleagues relationship, etc., etc. And quickly coming into the point, what is your invariant perception about that variant called you? How do you manage the variant expressions, variants of expressions, variants of responses, variants of activities, variants of relationships, variants of languages? Is there an invariant perception at all? Who is the doer? What is the doing? What is the setting? I mean, mindset, so-called mindset, you are coming later. All right. I planned for 2 hours, 30 minutes. Now 10 minutes, roughly more. Any other questions?
I had a
Of
doubt.
course, we have not finished the topic. Today's topic. All right, Mandra Rishiga.
Yeah. So for a invariant to be formed, for the invariant itself to be formed, don't we need a setting?
Wow. Brilliant. Of course. Because the essence of creativity and originality is invariant perception, definitely. But for that invariant of the you in you, that setting was done by somebody else. You don't have to bother about that. Anyway, coming to invariant perception, let us say of a painting, not a painting or a drawing, or invariant perception about a new tune or a new design or a new strategy for a company, new strategy for human resources management, or new strategy for teaching a certain subject, new strategy to manage a client or a so-called patient, or new strategy for a design of whatever kind, etc., etc. You create an internal setting because, like Ganesh Raman pointed out, it is the setting. So have an appropriate setting of your so-called body and mind and intellect and spirit, the truthfulness of your mind, the ethics of your mind, the inspired mind, the genuine linkages with the world outside and inside. In such a mind, there will be relevant invariant perceptions occurring, Mandra Rishika, no doubt. All right. on one hand. On the other hand, like a designer, like Ramesh, a designer, like Amrita, sorry, Ashwadi, a designer, like every one of you thinking about strategies and the decisions and new ideas, you can constantly reflect on that. You provide an internal setting, like yesterday, what you call Meenakshi said, we totally surrendered to the double or whatever, then a required invariant perception of what to do and what not to do, how to do, and when to do may occur to you. They are also invariant perceptions. Mantra Rishika, invariant perception need not be about a new drawing or a new painting or a new design. That invariant perception of what next to do, what to do next. Let us say 10 people are sitting in 10 different rooms. There are 100 things sit in that room. Person number one is picking up a novel. Person number two is picking up a pornographic book. Person number three is cooking a cup of tea. Person number three is watching a wonderful film. So, what is that invariant perception? Invariant perception is every moment going on in a way, actually, everybody's mind. But I know, Mandra Rishika, you asked about invariant perception of creating something new. That, like Ganesh mentioned, it more or less dominantly depending upon your setting, internal setting as well as the external setting. Like if you want to do a painting, you have to be all the time with the paints and canvases and reflecting upon what painting next and all those things. You have to, like Ashwini said, you have there that creative energy is working. You want to create a new painting, so you are reflecting on that. Then it will definitely come to you, no doubt. But do not insist. It has to come to you today or tomorrow. But if you have done so many paintings and there is an unconscious uh, kind of an assessment of the painting, you may not feel happy with even the invariant perception. That also is there. Of course, it needs a setting, Mantra Rishika, no doubt. That's why that's a common thing. You change the, like Anuradha pointed out, you change the time and setting. For example, you sit down to work a thesis and you don't get an idea. Do not break your head for more than 5 minutes. Get out and make a walk. Go out to the kitchen and take a cup of coffee. The setting of the body changes, which will change the setting of the mind, which will change the whole something else, and you are likely to get a new perception, new invariant perception. Okay, I will do on this painting. All right, that's also possible.
So in this sense, the doer is also setting then.
Oh, 100%. Doer is the ultimate. Doer is the, let us say, look at, let us say, a certain output under the so-called doer, the you becomes a configuration of all these things. And the outcome could be something invisible to everybody else in the form of an enlightenment, and you're sitting there cool. See, the complete cycle happening inside you. And if you talk about that outside, then that's a variant which you are talking outside. Yeah.
So a doer can
Yeah.
create the setting also.
Why not? Of course. That's what we in between mentioned. Like if you want to create an output, we are talking about creating the variant output. The setting also is subject to the same thing. Like a machine design, like Ramesh and all that engineering designers. Now there are engineering designers. You have a certain product to be made, and you give the direction, description of the product. The machine designers will design a machine for you. Yeah, of course. That I mean that machine being the city. Yes. Or you can change the setting. For example, you have a dialogue with your son, it is not working. Okay, stop the dialoguing, wait for 2-3 days. Next day you take him for a drive and then you talk the same thing, it will work. That is why, Anuradha, that is why in the conventional times onwards, all the so-called gurus or the wonderful people gave guidelines to people. Satyam, you should have that ethics. You should talk only the truth. You should behave only gently. You should respect the elders. All these were kind of guidelines to create so-called, like always Naveen says, from a human to human being. I mean the species. Like a cat is a cat is a cat. How to make a cat out of a human being? That's what they give the direction, including physical direction. Take a bath in the morning, go to the Tulsitara, put this thing, or apply some what you call sandalwood on your thing, go to the nearby temple or go to the puja room, fold your hands to the mother, go to the father, go to the elder brother, etc., etc. How to dress, how to talk, how to talk gently. All these things were actually preparing that mindset to be a proper setting so that correlated invariant perceptions about the self and the others and the world and the very existence would coincide in that mind. That is missing in today's world. That is why every day the percentage now is more than 80 to 85% of the people in the world are depressed and mentally ill because their setting is aware. There is no integrated setting. Nobody is happy. In the West, people are changing their spouses, thinking that this spouse is not okay, next spouse will be okay. They're changing the models of cars. They're changing their dresses, go for window shopping, buy diamonds, buy golds. All these things are to provide some kind of a mental equilibrium. Because the internal setting is haywire. There is no setting. What setting? At the age of 2, they go and learn Jack and Jill. Then go to class 1, learn chemistry, physics, maths. No ideologies, no guidelines, no values, no belief systems, nothing. Internet and all the kind of things, films and what you call a smorgasbord, what you call an avial of all lot of things of varied directions are put into the so-called internal factory. So half-baked process, half-baked piece of iron ores are put into half-baked furnaces, into half-baked molds, into half-baked. Then how there will be a product? That's why I told you, every one of you. People are not coming to you. I wonder why nobody is coming to. In fact, 1 out of 3 in every city should be consulting a guide, a counselor. They lost even belief. They don't even understand that they are in a problem. As I told you, a system cannot detect itself. Somebody has to tell them. If the husband says, wife, oh, there is a slight problem for you, then it is a conflict. She is not ready to accept it. Or the wife says, there's no, what you said, I think you have, nobody will say you have a mental problem. That is finished. That is the end of the world. They will know, they will never say that. Instead, they will say, what you said is okay, you are arrogant, blah, blah, blah. All kinds of things are going on. That's a very wonderful point, Andratha. So you can look forward to an increasingly degenerated world. No doubt about that. The world is gone. It can never come back. The world is going to end in the sense that humanity is going to its ultimate calamity, and the entire thing will end. And that's all. That's all nature process, no doubt. Everything has to go to atrophy and decay and disease. So only the time factor, maybe 1,000 years, maybe 2,000 years, maybe 10,000 years, maybe 50,000 years. But this planet Earth will end up as an inert body like a moon, no doubt about that. And their output, the variant is the varying mindset, Anuradha. Nobody is what you call solidly happy. Of course, you can have variations. Okay, somebody is behaving in an unexpected way. You feel for, let us say, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. You will come back. You should come back. Even that need not happen to you. That's a different issue. If your setting is impeccable, nobody can affect you. Nobody, nothing in the world can affect you. No doubt about that. And let us hope some lucky people will come to you. And that's what I said. I am training you for that only. This is not a usual training. Our normal training needs to be, if you have to do it a little bit so-called commercially, 1 month training is quite enough on mindset analysis or some creative thing or something like that. This is not an ordinary training. This I am really, like I say, read out the first dialogue, remember, quoting what you call Sydney Japan's. Every one of you must be, even the Western term, a guru in the correct sense. So vimarsa, hedu guru. Not giving them fishes, but training them to catch fish.
Right.
That's what every one of you must do. That's why we are doing this program. Yes, Vinay? Want to say something?
No, sir.
All right. Okay, Amay Rajarshi, want to say something? Are you there or are you cooking? Poor Amay is cooking.
No, I'm back right now.
All right.
He's a doer.
Yeah.
Under his setting.
I was listening to what you all were saying, but I don't have anything to say now.
All right.
Yeah.
So, write down these points and reflect upon that. Invariant, the doer, the doing, the setting, and the process and the output, the variant. And we will come to all these things of the human being after some gap. Now we have to go into the invariant, etc., of a process itself. What is the invariant of a process? That is cooking a cup of tea. Our beloved Shanoyu. So just to think about describing the referent of cooking a cup of plain tea. The referent of cooking a cup of plain tea. That is, it is a process. So in order to understand the referent of a process or the referent reality of a process, no, not that. We have to now go to referent reality. Referent is almost near complete in your understanding, in your concept sense, as well as in your internal invariant. You all have, I suppose, you have an invariant perception about referent. You have some perception about referent reality. Okay, so The referent reality, now we will begin. I was waiting for clarifying the concept of variant, invariant, and linkages. Any referent has its invariant, any referent is a variant, and the reality of a referent comprises its linkages. What are the linkages of a cup? That comprises a cup and its description, reported details, comprise the referent of the cup. The reality of that cup, the existential reality of that cup, includes its history, past, present, and future. Got it, Anuradha?